Mr. William Lipsey.
This here is who?
This is Mr. William Lipsey over here. He's teaching us all about the cotton business here.
What are you showing us, William?
Module feeders and trash systems.
I think you're supposed to catch it.
This is what you make?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't.
It's coming in on the truck right here, and that's the original product, and it gets fed in on this conveyor belt.
This thing takes the
that
place of the
machine.
old sucker pipe that they used to suck it off the wagon with.
Okay, this isn't the
Coming out of
trash.
the field with it loose or packed?
Pack.
This isn't the
Packed
trash
and
max.
that's the ticket.
Yeah, the picker dumps it over into a big box sitting on the floor, on the ground.
Yeah.
And they got a hydraulic tramper on it that packs it down, and then the back end of it opens up and they pull the box off. And put a tarp
This
over it.
place looks strange.
So this hadn't done anything to do with trash max at all, huh?
No, this is different from trash mix. But
Yeah.
it's same, which I sell these, we manufacture and sell these
Okay.
as a trash.
How many of those you put in?
We only got 3 of them out. We just came out with it. That's some. But we hope to sell
What
as
you
many of
got?
them
Did you
out.
find some balls?
What do you think? Is it a good seller? What do you think? Is it a good seller?
Yeah,
Everybody here.
Okay.
we want it to be a good seller.
Yeah.
Give it a
Okay.
Oh,
This is Lady June.
We're trying.
Okay.
you don't want that, man.
Things and all.
What's that on the back? The names and all?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see the picture.
Here's the picture.
Okay. There's a real glare in it.
Yeah. Okay.
Just like that. Okay, that's pictures of family, our family in England,
Yeah.
and that's where our grandma Mincher.
This is Grandma Mincher's family in England. Now, the significance of this is that Grandma Mincher, these are, as I understand it,
Yeah.
these are Grandma Mincher's mother and daddy and brothers and sisters.
Okay.
But now she was the 12th of 13 children.
Yeah.
And when her mother was pregnant with the
Yeah.
last child, her aunt and uncle, who didn't have any children, came over and got her to keep her while her mother was not able to take care of her. And one day went into 2 and 2 into 3, and finally they never did take her back home.
Yeah.
And then about the turn of the century, they decided that they wanted to immigrate to the United States.
Yeah.
And so they asked her mother and daddy if they could bring her to the States. And so they said, okay, they could. I don't recall the exact age, but she was, I guess, 6, 7 years old, something like that.
Yeah.
And they got on a sailboat and sailed into New York Harbor. And then and went to work in the steel mills eventually in Pennsylvania, as best I recall. Then, when she was 15 years old, this lady right here, when she was 15,
A little too much glare right there. Turn it that way a little bit.
when she was 15 years old, she got on a sailboat and sailed back to England and spent a year with her family. And at that time,
So that's Grandma Mincher right there.
that's Grandma Mincher.
Okay.
And then sailed back over and rejoined her stepmother and father in the States.
Well, good. She got to spend a year getting to know her family after she was 6 years old. Then.
Yeah. After.
You reckon she felt fortunate to be the only one of the family that moved to the United States, or do you think she resented it, or you ever heard her talk about it or anything? You were around her more than me.
Was never any problem with that. See, a lot of these children wound up in South Africa,
Yeah.
and I think some in South America somewhere. I really don't know. My mother kept up with a lot of these, wrote back and forth to them.
Yeah.
Kept up with where they were and this, that, and other through the years. But all that information, as far as I know, is gone. But she crossed the Atlantic 3 times on sailboat.
I bet you that took a while. Yeah. I used to visit her when I was a little kid and sit up there, and she'd always make tea. And she always liked to eat Jell-O. She put fruit juice in the Jell-O, made it taste better.
Yeah. She lived to be 94 or something like that. And she had tea every afternoon, and she had vinegar. What Grandma have? Vinegar and water?
Vinegar and water.
Vinegar and water every morning?
Every morning.
Every morning.
Vinegar, what does vinegar and water do?
Vinegar and water. Every
Clean the
morning.
system out.
It helps you get to be 94, I guess.
I guess so.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you know about Grandpa Mincher?
Okay, Grandpa was, he was born in the States, but his mother and father had come over from England too, as best I know. And
I remember when I was growing up.
and he worked in the steel mills in Ohio. Was evidently fairly well educated, because he was not
He ran the thing? Ran a bunch of people?
not a common laborer.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, he was shop foreman or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
And
He did okay anyway.
huh?
He must have done okay anyway.
Yeah, and the way they got on along,
This was in Ohio?
Buffalo, New York. They lived in Buffalo, I believe, part of the time.
How'd they meet? Do you have any idea?
I don't have any idea about that.
But they met up there, not down
Yeah,
there.
yeah. And then the way they got down to Long Beach, after a couple of, after Mother and Frederick were born, and maybe Albert, but I'm not sure about that.
Yeah, he was born in Gulfport, I know, in Long Beach.
Okay, all right.
But your mother and Uncle Frederick were born up north.
Up north.
Okay.
In fact, Mother went to school, first, second grade up north somewhere.
Okay.
And but he wanted to get his family out of that area up there, and a lot of people were moving south, and there was an ad in the paper or something about a 40-acre farm with a house on it for sale in Long Beach, Mississippi for so much many dollars.
Okay, this was right around 1910, something like that, I
I would
bet.
imagine so.
Because my father was born in 12.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so he loaded them all up on a train. They bought the land sight unseen,
Really?
loaded them up on a train and headed down there. When he got down there, there was
I didn't want to bring it.
40-acre swamp with a mule barn.
Is that right?
And so they took the barn and made a home out of it as best they could.
Yeah.
And started clearing land and truck farming. And there was a lot of truck farming going on down there. They'd ice this stuff down on rail cars and they'd ship it back north to the cities in the north.
Yeah.
And then when the money'd run out, well, he'd go back to the steel mills and work a year or 2 years or something
Yeah.
and come back.
Leave his family down here. I know that there was a grandfather that was down here.
Grandfather Taylor and grandmother Taylor.
Now these are the ones that that brought our grandmother over here on the boat.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's the ones that my father lived with them instead of with his own parents for a while.
I want to teach him school.
Okay.
And then, third grade's gonna be easy to teach. It's gonna be hard.
at some point in time, they moved south too, I guess, and had a, and had a separate house.
Yeah.
And then your daddy lived with them. And let's see. I believe that lady right there is that lady that your granddad or that your dad lived with.
Okay, I bet that's right.
Let's see if this guy on the back of it.
Okay.
I think that's
To where it doesn't take that long.
No.
like John's about one. And you're through.
I think that's right. Let's ask Jim right quick.
Well, this says the mother
Mother of who?
of Grandma Mincher.
Well, okay, so that's probably the lady back in England.
I think this is the lady in England. And I was trying
Hey, Jim, real quick. Jim, is that lady right there from in England? Is that the Grandma Taylor?
Yes.
Mincher from England.
Not Taylor, her name's Hill.
Hill. Okay.
Yeah.
That would be our grandmother's real last name, but she was raised by Taylors.
Real mother.
Okay. It was this lady's sister who adopted our grandmother.
Right.
Yeah, okay, and she became a Taylor.
Correct.
Okay, thanks.
And then and then they got a dairy, had a dairy and what have you.
Yeah, and they had, so they had, your mother was the first one born, Eleanor, and then there was Frederick. They were born up north, and my dad, Al, and then Joe, I know, and then Jack was later.
Yeah.
Okay. I know that they all helped each other go to school. I know for a fact your mama helped my dad go through school, sent some letters back and forth. I read a letter where he said, I don't need that money we talked about, I'm not going to need because I sold something. That means that you can pay your bills.
The deal was, Grandpa told Mother, said, I've got enough money to get, I think I got enough money saved up, I can get you through college. And I want, after you get through, then I want you to come back home and stay with us until we get all of them education.
Yeah.
And so she went back and taught school and worked as a home demonstration agent in Hancock County until Fred and Albert had gotten through college, and Joe elected not to go. And,
I know Jack went.
yeah, Jack went. But
I know my dad helped Jack go.
yeah, I'm sure he did.
Yeah, it seems like the whole family helped the whole family. Must have been a pretty important thing.
Yeah. No doubt about that.
Yeah.
They come out on me all the time.
And then my mother, my mother moved up here to be the county agent here.
Okay.
Home demonstration agent, they call it.
That's how she wound up coming to Prentiss to begin with.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
That's the Prentiss connection right there.
that's the Prentiss connection, yeah. And
36, I think, is when she came
in
up.
36, yeah. And I was born in 38.
Yeah, I need a chair.
And she met,
I need a
that's
chair,
where she
okay?
met my daddy. And they finally got married after a year or so, yeah.
I got pictures of that wedding around here. That's right, you've seen them already.
But the mother always saved money. And when her and daddy got married, she had a little money saved up. And they bought the property next door.
You mean, you mean Edwin Dale's property?
Yeah.
Okay.
This house is
And the
Mississippi.
funeral home property over there.
Oh,
The
okay.
house
It wasn't,
is
it wasn't,
Mississippi, right?
wasn't but one house, and that was the one where over on the corner where the funeral home was.
Okay.
And they bought that property and rented it out. And then after Aunt Bill got married, at some point in time, they gave ain't building them the property to build them a house on, and then
Yeah.
later sold the other property to somebody that had the funeral home somewhere.
Okay.
And then, of course, after the war,
Was your dad? I think I remember him telling me stories about farming during World War II. Because I think I remember him saying something about the rationing. He said he could pull his car up there to this pump and say, "Fill this tractor up with gas." But I know that along about that time, everybody was getting married except for the other brothers and sisters, and it seems like they all came home from the war and got married. Uncle Frederick might have been married already, and I think got divorced because of the war. And my dad came home and married my mother, and he met my mother through your mother.
yeah,
Aunt Eleanor's the one that was responsible for introducing her to Daddy.
and Uncle Fred was introduced to the lady that he married,
Virginia.
Virginia.
Yeah.
And didn't she live? Yeah, she was rooming in this house.
She was? I didn't know that.
Yeah, she had a job here in town. She was from over at Hazelhurst and had a job here in town, was living here with your grandfather.
Okay.
And your mother was working on the train, stewardess on the train.
Yeah, it was the, what was the name of that train? Jim could tell. Jim, what was the name of that train that Mommy worked on?
the something limited,
Hello.
Rebel.
Okay.
The Rebel, that's what it was. Okay.
Yeah.
They ran back and forth from here to Chattanooga. Okay. Okay.
So when the two boys came in to visit, well, they already had them fixed up.
Yeah, I guess they did. Like I said earlier, we read a letter from my mother to your dad, because my dad saved them all. And one of them said, yeah, I don't know my ring size, but if somebody was wanting to give me one, I'd go find out what it was.
But it didn't take long for that marriage to take place.
Yeah, I know it. And I know that
How did
Uncle Joe met.
arriving in Prentiss? How did
My mother,
yeah
she came up here as what they call a home demonstration agent
for
for this county. That was part of Roosevelt's program. Take people that were educated, that knew how to can beef and keep house and some first aid and all that kind of stuff.
general.
And she came up here and literally our job was to go out through the country and people's homes and teach them how to keep house and how to put
I'd always wondered how
canned food
we came to coming to Prentiss, Mississippi.
Yeah, that was a connection right there. And then she introduced my dad to my mother. And
Here we are.
then when she moved away, that was a pretty big connection lost right there.
That was them arriving, and this is us going.
No, she didn't move away. You moved away. You and Henry and sister. And Joe met, what's Joe's wife's name? What was her name?
Oh, well, the first one, Jeannie's mother was Mary, and she was from Long Beach.
Yeah, I didn't mean Polly. Yeah, I meant.
Yeah, and they married.
Really got it.
See, Joe.
Hey, don't put the food on the floor with the dog
Service
can't get
station
it.
right on the beach. When you came down out of Long Beach to the beach,
Yeah.
he had the service station on the right-hand corner there.
You can remember the war year or something?
Oh yeah, I remember
Okay.
all of that because I remember being at the family listening to the radio when Pearl Harbor was bombed.
Yeah. You were what, somewhere around 10 years old about that time, maybe, or even
I wasn't that old. I was born in '38.
38.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
38 to 40. 2, was it?
World
Or
War II was when they bombed Pearl Harbor, but it was,
Rennie,
so you
don't-
can barely remember that then? Okay, you don't remember the details of it. You were like her age, 4 years old.
yeah, but it was such an event that
You remember it, huh?
you remember it, yeah.
Yeah.
Very definitely. You remember it. And then, and of course, the biggest recollection of the war years.
Everybody.
Yeah, this was a sentimental family, ain't it? I appreciate this family because we're sentimental. You know, it's a tight family.
Well, when you take, see, there was 4 brothers, one sister, and a mom and dad.
Yeah.
And the only one that was here was mom and dad and the sister.
Yeah.
All the rest of them was fighting the war.
Right.
And you got a bunch of kids, you know what?
Yeah, I bet you everybody's praying all the time, ain't
I
they?
guarantee you.
Yeah.
And,
It worked too, didn't it?
Mother was a big letter writer, and in addition to that, she had a friend that was her college roommate was a missionary to China. Went to China in 1934 and was captured by the Japanese when they invaded China. And then after they bombed Pearl Harbor, the Americans put all the Japanese people that they could get a hold of, and government people put them in prison, and they swapped her for some Japanese embassy official, got her back to the States. And she stayed in the States a couple of years, about a year, and then went to New York and caught a freighter to Argentina, and then caught another freighter from there to around the Horn of Africa, and went into India. And by this time they were supplying the Chinese over the hump, over the Himalayas,
Yeah.
from the back side through India.
Oh.
And she caught an army convoy and went back into China over the hump. Now you talking about a tough woman.
Yeah, man.
She
Yeah.
was something else, boy. And then
Would you ever meet her, or did you just know her through
I knew
letters?
her very well. She came to our home all the time and
Yeah.
lived, you know, she'd been to my home in Indianola a number of times before she died. And we kept real close contact with her all through the years. She, after the war, well, when she got back in China, then when the communists took over, they just about got her. But she was able to get out then. And, but Mother had those 5 people involved in this thing all over the world, you know. And she sat down every day and wrote a letter. She had 4 pieces of carbon paper.
Yeah.
And I can see her just plain as day, writing that letter every day.
Yeah.
You know. And
Yeah, I can tell my dad sent a bunch of letters too. We got a bunch of them because, you know, she saved all my dad's letters.
yeah,
And I think we got copies of all of them.
yeah.
Something pretty interesting was that my dad wrote her a letter as he was fixing to ship out. He didn't know where he was shipping out to, but he was writing Aunt Eleanor.
Yeah.
And he was telling her that I'm going to write you a code. And if there's a mark in the left-hand column, it means that we killed somebody
Yeah.
or shot down an airplane.
Yeah.
And if there's a mark in the right-hand column that looks like this, we lost one of our men. And if we got a different kind of a mark like this in the right-hand column, it meant that we lost one of our guns.
Yeah.
And if I write something like, if I bought a pair of pants for $11.50, that's 11 degrees latitude, you know, 50 longitude or something like that.
Yeah.
And you see those letters, and he was doing that.
Yeah.
Hmm. They were keeping up with each other pretty much.
Keep up with what it was.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, it must have been a pretty interesting time.
it was a tough time.
Yeah, I bet.
And everything was rationed. I mean, you could only get so much sugar. You could only get.
I wonder if he can tell us how those stamps work.
He
Ration
probably,
stamps.
yeah, he probably could.
Where are
See, we ran onto some rationing stamps somewhere around here, and Michael was wondering how in the world they worked. If you just had to give them
A4, you know, could you buy, say, 4 stamps worth of A4, maybe it was gasoline, you could buy 4 stamps worth of gasoline a week? Is that how it worked?
Well, most of the stamps that I recall had on them.
You know where they are then?
What
No,
what
I
you
don't
can
know.
buy with it. In other words, a pound of sugar. And each family was issued so many stamps a month or something. And you could, of course, you had to have the money and the stamp.
Money and the stamp.
So when you ran out of stamps, forget it, huh? The money wasn't no
Money
good.
wasn't no good.
I see.
And that was for gasoline and everything. And during the war, see, Grandma and Grandpa still lived in Long Beach. And the only way we could get down there to see them was to go over to Collins and catch a train and go down there.
Yeah.
And I can remember making that trip a lot of times.
Mhm.
We went right through the heart of Camp Shelby on that trip. And I remember seeing all the Army trucks and all that training going.
Everybody shipping out, huh? Well, everybody got back and everybody got married.
Yeah, and then very few families had that kind of exposure that was so.
You mean 4 boys?
4 boys, yeah.
And then a girl that I never really knew much about that must have been so close to the family she was practically a sister, huh?
Frederick and Albert especially knew her real well because she'd go home with Mom on the weekends and what have you.
Yeah.
From school and that kind of stuff. They went to school in Hattiesburg.
Uh-huh. So, Uncle Joe, I'm going to catch this on this tape, that Uncle Joe married Polly, who was a good friend of Joe's first wife, when Joe's first wife died. And she knew she was going to die, and she said, Polly, I want you to marry Joe. And that's the way it ultimately turned out. And that was pretty neat. And then Uncle Jack married Kay, and then they got married. Everybody had kids. And I'm not going to get that on this tape. But I appreciate the whole family heritage. Your dad was my favorite of the uncles.
Hurry.
I think probably because he spent more time with me than anybody else. You know, and your mama kept all of us together too, I think.
I'm coming through.
Well,
Okay, come on
everybody
through.
my daddy ever talked to thought he was thought that he spent more time with them than he did anybody
I think he
else.
did. I think he knew what was important.
He knew he could, man, he could cut the chase just like that. I mean, he, you know, the morning with of his funeral, I came down to the funeral home about 5 o'clock in the morning. Now, from then till 9 o'clock that morning, there was a steady stream of young men and women coming in to pay their respects.
Yeah.
And black folks, white folks, you know, they come in and say, that fella, the first truck I ever drove, he let me drive it.
Yeah.
Said I own a transport trucking company now, and the way I got a job, I went by there one day and he said, hey boy, you want to work a little? And I said, yeah. He said, well, I need you to take that truck and go get a bale of cotton. He said, mister, I don't know nothing about how to drive no truck. He said, the key's in it. He said, you can figure it out before you get out of there. You know?
Yeah. That's the kind of guy he was.
You know, man,
I got caught smoking cigarettes over here in Prentiss one time.
yeah.
You know who sat me down and talked to me? That was Uncle T. Hey, he never did tell me he knew that I was smoking cigarettes. He just says, you know, Henry and William, they don't smoke cigarettes. But he didn't tell me, boy, I know you've been smoking cigarettes. But I knew he knew.
He's something else, now I tell you. He'd give many a young un money to go get on a bus and go to college.
All right.
And you know, he and mother gave away more money than than they probably ever kept.
Yeah.
During the war, didn't anybody have a car at all, hardly. And even on up in the 40s up to the 50s, and Daddy made a lot of money in the cotton business and the tractor business and what have you. And every time somebody died in the community, he had that car washed, filled up with gas, and sent it over to the house. Told them, now when the funeral's over and y'all get through, call me, we'll come and get it up where,
Yeah.
out in the country or wherever, And then there's one interesting thing there's a agricultural museum up at Jackson.
Yeah.
Right on the interstate as you're going around, going up 55, right by St. Dominic's Hospital. And there's an old homestead there, log house and the barns and all that kind of stuff. And that was a home that was built down here in the country. I guess maybe in the late 1800s or something like that. And the man that had it gave it to the Agriculture Museum, and they took it down, marked every board piece by piece, and moved it up there and put it back up just like it was down there. And Mother has canned the beef in the kitchen of that house.
That's interesting.
Teaching folks how to can.
I might need to stop by there sometime. All right. I appreciate knowing all that. And I know I spent as much time down there at your mama's house when I was a little kid, 8, 9, 10 years old, as I spent here in this house with Miss Edna. That was some neat times. I grew up in the city, but I felt like I was a country boy somehow. You know?
Yeah, I felt the same way when I was growing up.
Yeah.
I felt the same way.
Over at his house, there was chickens running around all the time, so there was eggs coming in, and there was a milk cow. And you go out there and milk. And I tried my hand at milking. I just didn't know how. I couldn't make my hands work to get the milk out, though.
I was from the
I
city.
didn't know how you did it.
I didn't know I was from the city, but William called me City Slicker.
He what?
He called me City Slicker.
He did, huh?
I was around all those country cousins. I
Yeah.
said, why don't I fit in? He said, because you're a City Slicker.
You're in Mississippi. This is
Mom and Daddy
Mississippi.
milked a cow.
This house is Mississippi.
Chickens and eggs and all till I went off to college. When I
Yeah.
went to college, our house had never had a lock on the door. And they were still milking cow and had chicken and eggs.
I didn't know it didn't have a lock. I just knew it never was locked.
Never had a lock.
I remember going with your father, WT, to out into the country. I must have been, like Taylor's age there, 3 years old, maybe 4 or 5 years old, going to check on the cattle. And then he took me to an auction down here in the auction barn that's torn down. And then later on, I spent a good bit of time with him on the dude. Stay in the summers, and he'd come down there and just be me and him. And he was trying to fix it up real nice. And it was. And I put all them screws up there in the top of the cabin.
Oh, you did?
Man, that was hard. That was real fun. I didn't really want to, but you didn't tell him no.
No.
Because he'd done enough for you. It was time to do something in return. Then the dude got lost in the hurricane, and I suppose that because he almost lost Henry during that, he never put the dude back into service again.
Well, the real truth was that
all the kids grew up.
no, we lost all the wealth.
All the what?
Lost all the wealth.
The wells?
All the money. We lost all the Hurricane Camille cost us all our money.
Oh, I see.
See, we were running 2 cotton gins and furnishing all these small farmers with fertilizer and tractors and chemicals and all that. And
yeah, it changed the face of this whole county, didn't it?
We should have generated around 7,000-8,000 bales of cotton that fall and collected all that money.
Yeah.
But we only generated 250 bales of cotton.
Wow. Because it wiped out the cotton crop that year?
We had should have made about 600 bales of cotton ourselves and made 22.
Wow. Then after that, the cotton industry moved to Indianola.
The
Delta.
All the cotton moved to the Delta.
Yeah, and then you picked up the cotton gin and went to the Delta. Yeah.
But it,
I didn't know that either.
Yeah, I knew that. I just
no, it
didn't know that was that much of a reason for the dude not ever getting back in. But
well,
I don't know. It's quite a bit of effort to keep a boat like that up and going.
Well, it was. Daddy lost his health.
Yeah.
And then it, put me and Lady June so deep in debt. So, because we basically took all the
I
loss.
wish he was here with me.
Okay.
Henry took a good bit of it, but we tried to shield Daddy and Mama from it.
I didn't see him.
And that's what.
You want a piece of me?
Yeah. It's been different ever since,
Piece of me?
Yeah.
and it's going to be even more different now. The last connection to Prentiss for us in the Mincher family
Yeah.
was
You.
this house.
Let's have you.
And
Yeah.
my parents, now they're moved to Mobile,
Where's the other ones?
and we're gonna have to find another place to get together.
But you know, actually, we'll see them more than being down there than we will.
You probably will.
You probably will. So we're gonna have to figure out a way just to go down there. You know, Mobile isn't that much further from me. It's just down 10 instead of up 55. Huh?
I doubt if it's any further.
I don't think it is. Mobile's a little bit further, but not very much.
With us, we just got some children and grandchildren now. You know, time we get around to them,
Yeah, I know what you
We
mean.
don't get around to them.
and still
Yeah.
try to make a living.
Okay, I'm gonna turn this thing off.
All right.